Hello, everybody. Vincent Dowd, the founder of Authentic Elevation, where we help people to authentically raise their frequency to a higher dimensional consciousness and to live your life in authenticity. I wanted to share with you a concept today that's very interesting, very simple, but so many people get it wrong. And that is the concept of doing versus being. So there's a great speaker who's passed away recently, but his name is Zig Zigler. He was one of the first speakers I saw when I was in my younger years, and I was attending a seminar, and he spoke at that seminar. It was one of my first businesses. And he said, you've got to learn to be before you can do, and you've got to do before you can have. And it was such a little statement: be, do, have. And what's interesting about it is it stuck with me all this time throughout my life. I'm 53 years old today, and I feel that still today. And it's such a powerful little formula that most people get wrong. The average person is really focused on doing something. They're always thinking about, what can I do? If a relationship breaks up, oh, what do I do to fix it? What do I do to get the job? What do I do? And it's always focused on the doing. And remember, we are not human doings, we are human beings. And so the biggest part of this formula is the most powerful, and that's the be. You've got to be before you can do, and you've got to do before you can have. So let's dissect this. Let's look at the having first, because most of us really want things, right? So that desire is, I want something, whether it's a great relationship, whether it's a physical fit body, whether it's more money, a bigger house, a higher status, respect, whatever it is. So basically that's the having. We want these things. And a lot of people believe that if you just have those things, life's going to be great. It's going to work. You're going to be happy and fulfilled. But the truth is, that's a lie. Having things will not make you happy at all, right? Not at all. It's the idea of it that makes us think that if I can get this target, this goal, and once I get it, I'm going to be fulfilled, I'll be happy. And then you get to that goal, and what happens? It's not enough. You might have a moment of excitement. I remember the first time I bought a car cash. So I made a lot of money, and I went out and I went into the dealership, and I remember they used to always mess with me, because I was younger and I didn't always dress great, when I went out like on a Saturday afternoon, and they'd treat me like I was broke, and they treated me poorly. So I couldn't wait to just walk in there and screw with them. And I did that. I screwed with them a lot. I sit in the car and I'm making noises in the showroom, boom, boom, boom. I'm doing all that. And the people, I can see them talking, they come over to the car and say, sir, can I help you with something? I was like, yeah, I'd like to see if I can get one of these. These are nice. And then he started to qualify me. Well, can I ask what you do for a living? I said, nothing, and so I really messed with him. The whole story is pretty funny. And I think he wanted to get me out of the car and have me leave. But I said, but I want one. He goes, well, what kind of credit do you have? He starts asking these questions. I said, well, I don't know what the credit is, but I just want to know, do you take cash? And the guy looked at me like, what? And so I ended up like buying the car, and it was really fun. But the thing is, once I got that Mercedes, and I remember wanting to drive down the street of the people in my neighborhood that used to believe that I wasn't good enough, or that I wouldn't make it, or I wasn't smart enough. I couldn't wait to drive down with the windows down, arm out the window, showing them, look at me. And I did that. And it's funny that nobody cared about the car. So that moment of excitement, it was really about me showing them by having something. And, it's very low vibe frequency, definitely at the time. But it taught me a big lesson that, I was trying to get that car to reach a level of status so I could feel accepted by people that for some reason or another didn't validate me. And so that's a big lesson in itself. The having really does not resolve the issues inside of us, the inner dimensions. If we don't work on those first, having's not going to do anything. There's nothing wrong with having things or so forth, but you're going to find too that there's a lot of people that show up in your life when you have things that are there for one purpose, and that's to get your attention, to get status, to maybe have you pay for things, or to use your name as, oh, I know this person. And that becomes more parasitic. So keep in mind that having is very different, and everything that you have will be taken away, right? At the end of the day, everything that you have is impermanent. It's not going to last. So we should not really put our energy into having. Having to me is a byproduct of the other parts of the formula. So let's work from having. Not saying you can't have, of course, you're going to have things, but when you think that that's going to fulfill you, you're going to find out it does not fulfill you. So let's move back to that second part, doing. And this is something I always prided myself in. I was always a doer. What about you? Do you pride yourself in a hard work, a strong work ethic? Do you pride yourself in doing a lot? In fact, most people today are doing so much that they're overwhelmed. They have so much information and so much competition for their time that they feel like they're just stretched too far. But the doing has become very big. And I always used to believe that if I just did more, I would have more. If I can just do more hours at the job, more jobs, more reading, do more to have more. And there's still a problem with that formula too, because you're trading a lot of time, right? A lot of time doing to try to get these things that you want, the haves. And I'm a big believer in a work ethic, a strong work ethic, but I see too many people spend their lives doing so much and they still don't get what they really desire. And we got to think about that. What is it that we really desire? It's not the item anyway. It's the feeling that we get. It's the feeling when you fall in love with somebody, it's the feeling that you're getting, but you're not getting that from the other person. You're getting that from within yourself. That person is actually allowing you to see the part of yourself that is love, that comes out of you when they, as a catalyst, bring it out. But a lot of times we attribute that to the other person, and therefore we get attached to the other person. Same thing when you get a car, a really fancy car, and somebody wrecks it. That Mercedes, I had somebody wreck into it within a week, and it cost me like $1,000 because they hit and run. And I was so upset, so caught up in myself, the anger, the frustration. How could they do this? So I was attached to that car, so it actually caused me internal turmoil on my inner dimensions because an external thing happened. And that's what happens. We get these attachments, whether it's a person, a place, or a thing, and we can't let it go, and it sticks in our mind as a memory. And that's another challenge, the whole nother video there that we could go off on. But what we want to do is we want to understand, yes, there's doing involved. And you can do, but doing more does not actually mean you're going to get more. Doing more does not make everything better, is what I'm saying. In fact, it can oftentimes do the reverse, because you can lose your balance of self and time, lose your balance of being in the moment. So let's go back to that first thing, that first area. It's called be. So when I talk about being, it's about the now, it's about the present, okay? It's about who am I? Who are you? So when you show up and you want a great relationship, so many people don't think this way. They just show up and start doing the moves, or they're trying to impress the person. But instead of doing that, that's another doing. What about who are you being when you show up? So if you want a great relationship, you've got to reverse it and ask yourself, who would be a type of person that has great relationships? Who would I need to be to have a partner that's totally in love with me? Who would I need to be to have a partner that loves to give to me, that I love to give to? Who would I need to be to have somebody that enjoys being around me, that laughs, that feels secure and safe? So you have to ask these questions, and then you can either model by seeing other people in life who have great relationships and they've been in those relationships, for a long time, or you can just go inside yourself and create that through your imagination. And so when you show up, you're like, who do I need to be? Well, I would need to be somebody that really puts my attention on my partner, asks questions instead of talking so much, listens clearly, remembers what they're saying. I would need to be somebody that has my heart open, not my ego running the show. I would need to be a person that gives right away, not to get something in return, but just because that's the true nature of who I am, a giver. I would open the door for my partner. I would be playful. I would, I would also call them on things that they need to be called on in a loving way. So, if they have crap come up or shit come up, I need to be able to call them on that, because there has to be boundaries. I need to be somebody who's aligned. I also would be somebody who has my purpose, which is primary. A partnership would be secondary to my purpose. The purpose on this planet for me is number one, and it should be for everybody. especially when you understand partners will respect that. They love that because they don't want to be the center of your universe. So that's an example with a partner. And you show up, how would I want to dress? What would my partner really desire? Well, they probably want somebody that puts themselves together, right? Somebody that speaks nicely, that has energy, that's fun to be with, that's intelligent, right? Somebody that doesn't get needy. That's a hard one. I've struggled with that all my life because my mom was needy, right? So I learned how to follow these characteristics of becoming needy, and I felt like I brought people to my life, and then when the relationship would end, I would become very grasping, very much needy. I needed them because I thought that they were the ones that brought me the happiness. And what I've learned is they didn't bring me the happiness. What happened is they came into my life and catalyzed. They're a catalyst where now I could feel and express this happiness that was already inherent within me. That's all that happens in a relationship or even buying a car, a new house. It's the joy that you get, but that joy is not from them. It's not from the house. It's not from anything other than you. That is your true nature. So we got to think about being. And now some of this I love. There's a speaker I watch. He's a young guy. He's phenomenal. His name's Aaron Doherty. And he talked about this, but like Catch Me If You Can, the movie Catch Me If You Can. If you remember the movie, Leonardo DiCaprio plays this gentleman who actually was based off a true story. And this guy just showed up in jobs and started doing it as if he was that role. And the interesting thing is he didn't have the training in it. So he showed up as a lawyer and he just started doing cases, and he had never gotten his degree. He had never passed the bar exam, but he started to do it. And he is an airline pilot. He was doing all these different things. And the funny thing is he never got challenged. Why did this guy who had no experience in any of these careers never get challenged? It's because he showed up as if he was already that part. When you walk in with confidence and you act like you've been doing it for years and you envision that, you show up that way, guess what happens? People don't question it because people sense energy. And even though it's a subconscious thing that we pick up on energy and different telegraphic information, if you show up and you're insecure in whatever you're going to do, people feel that. They might not be able to put their finger on it, but they feel it. And so imagine you're showing up to whatever it is and you're just being that person. And then from that point, here's a very interesting thing. When you're being, you're in the pure, simple being. What happens is things will start to happen around you and orchestrate and come together to fulfill what it is that you desire. And it's because you're in the natural state of being. You're not in your head thinking about what do I need to do or what do I need to have. You just start to operate in the present moment. And when you're clear and present in this moment, you're going to see things differently. People are going to arise into your circle and they'll bring information to you that now you're listening to because you're present. And it might be opportunities. It might be connections. It might even be the love of your life showing up. And they're sitting there telling you, not only with their energy, but with their words. A lot of times we miss opportunity. We miss the person because we're in our head thinking about what I need to do next to get what I want. And that's the problem. These things happen all the time. I remember there was this story that, and I don't exactly remember it, but it kind of goes like this. You might have heard this one. This gentleman was talking to a guy who was, fishing, and he didn't have a lot of money. He didn't have a job or whatever, and he was spending his days fishing. And the other guy was working his rear off basically to be able to retire someday. And he goes through this whole line of questioning to find out, well, why do you want to do that? Well, because I want to make a lot of money. Well, why do you want to do that? Because I want to be able to retire. And then why do you want to do that? Because I want to be able to fish. And so at the end of the day, you got one guy here who's doing what he loves, even though he doesn't have the money and all the status, and the other guy who's chasing everything so someday he can retire and fish. And that's probably the way the story, I probably blew the story, but that's the example. So I want you to know that if you will show up and just start being who it is you desire to be, find your true self inside yourself. Who are you? At the purest form, who are you? But then if you're looking at doing something in life, first ask yourself, who is it that would do it? Who is the being that would do that? If you want to be a manager in a company, how would a manager dress? How would they show up? How would they talk? What books would they read? where would they hang out? What circles of influence would they be around? Would they listen more or talk more? Right? And so that's one example. If you want to be wealthy, I remember doing this as well. I read the book Think and Grow Rich, and I didn't have any money. I was 30,000 in debt. But the one thing that Napoleon Hill said to do is write it down on a paper as if you already have it. And then start speaking it loudly to yourself as if you're already there. So it's not a goal in the future. It is present right here, right now. And then ask yourself how you would show up every day if you already were a millionaire. So I remember putting on this big piece of paper in my mirror in Seattle, and it said, I have $100,000 in my trading account. Now, back then, I had just learned to trade the stock market. I didn't have, I think I had $1,000 in my trading account. I started to do that every day. Morning and night, I would read this thing out loud. I would read about how I was going to take care of my mom and, you know, make sure that she's okay. And I would read it out loud every day. And at first, it seemed like I was a liar. If you ever looked in the mirror and told yourself something that you don't feel is true about you, but you're trying to do a positive incantation, you might think I'm lying to myself. But eventually what starts to happen is you start to believe your lies. And then you get more conviction around it. And so I started to believe this lie that I had $100,000 in my account. And I would just say it firmly. Vince, you have $100,000 in your trading account. Vince, you're highly successful. You speak to thousands of people and they love you. And you're very good looking. And I would do that. I didn't believe I was going to do that. Really, I was struggling with these things. But the more I said it, the more I started to believe it, the more energy I gave to it. And the most amazing thing, a little bit over a year, and I had over $100,000 in my trading account, then up to $500,000 within a year and a half. It totally revolutionized my life by understanding that the reason that happened is not because I went out and did stuff. It's because I started to take on the energy of feeling that it's already been done. I put the period on it. I wrote the signature to the universe that this is already true. I am the creator of the universe, right? So are you. We are the ones that create our universe. Nothing could be in your life unless you are. So you are the I am. Every time you wake up, you start your day with the thought, I am something. It all comes from that I am. So when you start to understand that if you're starting to create who am I, and you start to embody that being, that presence, that idea that you desire as if it's already happened, don't look at the circumstances. Don't worry about the circumstances. I'll give you an example of that. When I was broke and I had 30,000 in debt, I remember going to the ATM machines. I'd type in my code and it would always show like no money in my account. I was on a negative balance because I was using overdraft protection to live. And I would always think, man, I'm broke. So I allowed circumstances to control my emotional well-being because I'd look at the account said you're broke, and I'd feel broke. And that sent more brokenness into my future. The way I should have done it is I should have looked at the account, typed in my numbers and said, wow, there's nothing in there, which means there's a lot of room for a lot of money to come into this account. And wherever it's at, it's coming into this account because there's a lot of space in there for a lot of money. And that's a little different vibe on it, but it's kind of funny because it's true. If we don't let circumstance control our thinking, our well-being, and our emotions, we're there back in control instead of allowing circumstances to be in control. So when we look at this, number one most important thing is to show up and be. Who do you want to be? And don't wait. Be that now. You want to be fit and you're overweight? Just start seeing yourself as fit. Put that picture on the mirror. See yourself with the body you want. Put your head on it. Take a picture, cut it out, and start to see it. And start to feel it. What would a fit person do every day? Would they make excuses? Would they be eating ice cream at night? Or would they be up in the morning? Would they be loving working out? Even little things. When I started doing this, at a bus stop, I'll do, I don't take bus anymore, but I used to do like tricep bench pushes just when I'm sitting there wasting time. At the airports, you'd always see me doing push-ups in the airport between my flights. Even into my speaking career, I was still doing it, even though I might be dressed in a suit, because I didn't like wasting time. And I saw most people at the airports were eating, stuffing their faces with all kinds of junk food. I said, I can use this downtime to do push-ups, do some squats on the wall, and you keep your body working. And then automatically over time, it starts to do its thing. But I had to see myself as a fit person first. I couldn't just think about doing stuff. I had to envision and embody, this is what a fit person does. They eat differently. They think differently. They take action differently, okay? And so start with your being. Figure out who you are, create it now, be grateful for it, and operate as if. Model anybody you need to see how they live their lives, and then just envelop that into your own life. And then from that place of being, you don't even have to worry about doing, because the energy that moves the planets, the energy that beats your heart, that moves blood through you, that creates all the homeostasis within you, you're not doing any of that. It's an illusion of action. We believe that we're supposed to do something. It is all being done through you. If you'll just be present, if you'll just show up in being, what will happen? You'll open up your senses and people will come into your life. Things will start to naturally happen for you, right? There's a great book by Michael Singer called The Surrender Experiment. Highly recommend it. I used to sit in Mickey's darshans. He's one of Oprah's gurus, but he's a phenomenal story about how he surrendered, went out to the forest to meditate up here in Gainesville, Florida, and built a multi-billion-dollar business, but it all came to him. He didn't have to go do anything. It all came to him because he was in the presence of being. So start with being, and then the doing will be spontaneous and inspired. And in that process of doing, you'll start to have things. You'll have more connections, more friends, more life, more fun, more joy, but it's all your true nature. And by the way, you might get all those things that you've always desired, but you'll probably find that doesn't matter, because now you're in tune with your being, and all you ever wanted anyway was to know who you are, to understand the pure and simple being of you. So I hope this video gives you some inspiration, hopefully some education and a little bit of motivation, but I encourage you to start your day with asking, who do I want to be? And then spend some time visualizing that. I honor you. I thank you for being on this journey with me in life. And I want to send you the greatest of abundance. Remember, you are the abundance you're seeking. Please let me know below what you think of the video. If you like it, click subscribe, click the bell if you want more videos and updates. I would love to share them with you. But let me know what you're thinking below, and we'll see you on the next video. All right, much love to you all. Bye-bye.